We're here with Emy Sanchez. We're talking about becoming college ready. And you know, viewers just at home got to see a little bit about Education Summit. We're trying to connect university leaders and denominational leaders and bridge those communities together so that we can start working together to equip our students. So wanted to visit with you about becoming college ready and really getting into the nitty-gritty of that, the practical tips. So what practical tips could parents or students do to prepare for their college experience?
Sure. Well, I'm going to focus on parents. And first of all, those were a lot of statistics that were shared and a lot of concerning statistics. You know, only 1 out of 4 students is college ready. But yet, one of the inspiring things about what you shared was that parents do have high aspirations for their students. They want them to get to college. They know it's important. It's just how do we do it? How do we help our kids be college ready? And there's so many factors to that. And today I just want to focus on 3. Three factors that I think will be helpful in that. And so I'm addressing Latino evangelical parents. So I think the first thing is to, one, show them the fear of the Lord. The Bible says in Proverbs that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One gives understanding, is understanding. And so to teach your child that, first of all, knowledge flows from God. He is our source of knowledge, and that their identity is in Him.
That's right.
So, and that they have purpose. And so teach them to fear the Lord, to have a relationship with the Lord. And the reason that's important is not just for our spiritual lives or what we consider to be our spiritual lives, but because college is more than academics.
That's right.
It's also about independence and learning to make choices. And if they're learning that from an early age, when they get to college and they're faced with tough choices with their friendships, with what direction to take in their academics, in their academic route, that they know that first, that their source is God. And their identity is in the Lord, and they will have the wisdom to make right choices, whether it's for peers, whether it's in their academics.
Well, and we hear about the freshman 15, the 15 pounds that most freshmen in college gain, because it is difficult to make choices, wise choices about how to take care of your body. And when you are outside of the home, sometimes you're faced with these critical decisions. But like you said, friendships, relationships. And so we've got to start thinking about college as not just academics, like you said, but academics, socially, preparing them for what I would even say is interdependence, right? For them to have a relationship with their parents and with the Lord, so that they can have that balance.
It's presented as independence, but it's really dependency on the Lord and on those relationships that have been established, like their parents, like their youth pastors, or their churches. So it's kind of presented as independence, but it's really dependence.
That's so, I love that, because you have choices that would present itself as independence, right? But a wise student will know that in that independent choice, they must be dependent on Father God and going to Him and having the fear of the Lord to say, this time in the classroom belongs to you, Father. So what do you want to use it? How can I minister to my professor, to my peers? How can I do this unto you, like the Word says? So what's number 1? So number 1 is fear of the Lord. What's number 2?
Number 2 is remember that academics are actually important, and that there is that tie between faith and education. And so being engaged as a parent in terms of their academics, and it's something that Carlos Oscar mentioned in his interview. So staying engaged, again, there's high aspirations, low expectations. So meaning that they want their child to go to college and maybe even get their doctorate. But in terms of when you ask them, what do you actually expect them to receive, they may graduate from high school, but I don't know if they'll make it to college. But academics are important, and it doesn't start in high school. It starts at an early age. So stay engaged. How do you stay engaged? A lot of parents feel like there's a lack of resources, and they want detailed information. So we talked about TAG at the beginning, that teachers and being engaged in that way, and Carlos mentioned that as well. But also getting a hold of resources like the ones provided on the Faith and Education website, like the Parent Toolkit. That does tell you grade by grade from pre-K through 12 what the learning goals are. And so that's a resource that can be used as well. So staying engaged with teachers. Yes, it is bilingual in English and Spanish, which is amazing. I mean, just to have that resource in those two languages. So getting engaged, finding out about those resources and staying engaged with their academics, making sure that your child is on track, you know, from elementary school, so that way when they do get to graduate from high school, they're not handed this list of remedial courses to take, so that they are academically ready when they're entering college. So that's number 2.
For viewers at home who may not know what remedial courses are, it's college classes that you don't get credit for, and that's a tough thing. And sometimes it's a necessary thing to get you caught up so that you can take the course. But we want to prevent that as much as possible, so that students don't have to do that, because they can at times get discouraged. We hear a lot of students, but we want you to know, if you're in a remedial course, still do it unto the Lord, because the Lord has purpose in that, and He will prepare you for another course. You know, you and I were visiting earlier about a statistic that we came across, that 90% of Hispanic parents thought that their elementary school student, a 4th grader, was doing well, was on grade level for math. But in reality, only 26% of those 4th graders were actually doing what was supposed to be expected at 4th grade, at a 4th grade level. And so you see that massive gap. You know, 90% of parents thinking, my student's doing great and things are going so well and they're doing great in math, but reality is 26% were doing well in math. And so that massive gap, and we want to close that gap, and we believe the Lord has the answers to do that. So you've talked about fear of the Lord, you've talked about making sure to think about academics and to get engaged as a parent, not just in high school, but from kindergarten and beyond, even pre-K and beyond. So what's the third one?
Third one is raising a college-ready child is also being a parent that is college-ready as well. So getting informed about college itself. So I'm now referring to not just high school parents as well. Again, I'm talking to the general audience. But what does it take to graduate from college? We know that a lot of the barriers are financial. So learning that from an early age to start saving. And even if you do have a high school child, that there's still resources out there, scholarships. And I know we have a scholarship page on the faithandeducation.com website that shares about those scholarships. So as a parent, getting informed about those things as well, and knowing what are those college standards as well. So visiting a college campus with your child, so whether they're in high school, in middle school, or even elementary school, getting to see what a college campus looks like, you know, even if they'll let you sit in on a class. And so, you know, raising a college-ready child, I think it starts with the parents, so being a parent that is college-ready as well.
Well, and you know, one thing that you can do at home is become a Faith and Education Coalition member, and we can start sharing opportunities like the ones that Esmeralda has mentioned. So we want you to know a little bit more about what it means to be a member and why we exist. And so watch this video, find out more how you can personally get involved.
I think that our biggest problem with our education system is that in different school districts, different states, the goalposts are in different locations. The kids are just not receiving the same quality of education that they do in certain districts.
Welcome back to the Raising the Standards show. We are so glad that you've joined us today. We're talking about becoming college ready, and we've heard from Carlos Oscar from the Anaheim trip, and also Esmeralda, you shared some really valuable tips. And really, as you think about some of the items that we covered in today's show, what stands out to you?
I think what stands out to me is that there is an urgency to have that college in mind from a young age. And so I think that's one of the things, those statistics were just, wow, just really impactful.
It hits you to your core, because you realize that most parents think that things are going pretty well, but in reality, that's not always the case, and so we have to become educated ourselves as parents. You know, Greg Dyson at Cedarville University, who is just, he uses the phrase with eternity in mind. That's how he ends every email, and I love it because he's thinking forward and thinking about how we are eternal beings. But he says it's by 5th grade that students decide, am I going to go to college or not? So there is so much to cover between birth to 5th grade to help them start thinking of themselves as a graduate, and to think about, and for you as a parent to really understand the dynamics of college admissions, the admissions department, and that they have an application, and sometimes it's going to require you helping your student understand what that is.
And financial aid
Financial aid is often what the department's name at a college will be termed, that will help you to know a little bit more about scholarships and about grants that are available to you. There's something called FAFSA, which is an application that you can complete and find out more about how to access some of those grants that are available to you and to your student. So, you know, I love what Carlos Oscar talked about, and how he's so much fun, and it was so fun to get to see him. You know, he's a comedian. He's been on The View and on The Tonight Show. But I loved how when it got time to talking about his daughters and getting ready for college, he was serious, and he was very focused, like, I want the best for my girls. And I think so many parents feel that way, like, you know, fun and games over here, but when it comes to my kids, we want the best. And it's because we know that God has a plan for them. We know that the Lord is doing something in them. And so, you know, we talked about those stats, we talked about some resources. As I think about what resources we really want parents to know about, the Parent Toolkit on faithandeducation.com comes to mind. There's one called Learning Heroes, and you can look up your state and your student's age and grade, and really prepare them. So all in all, we want you to continue raising the standards and teach your children to love the Lord with the entirety of their minds. We'll see you next time.